Welcome into the podcast right now. I always love to give my expertise to good up and comers with very, very little experience in the game of audio performing. Got the lovely and talented SHULI Edgar. SHULI, how are you doing today?
I'm good, Mr. McGregor. Thank you so much for having me. I'm a big fan. I've watched all your fights, and you got a bum rap the last one, but I got faith in you. You're going to come back. How are you, my friend, Adam?
I'm doing pretty good, but not to fall into the stereotype. But of course, you forgot to mention my band.
Which is?
It's ever heard of us? It's me, Larry Mullen, The Edge, Bono.
Oh, you too?
Yeah, I'm Adam Clayton.
Yeah, no, you're not. Let me tell you something. You two help prevent AIDS. They don't walk around looking like they're riddled by it. Okay. I'm kidding. It's a joke. Everybody relax. I have AIDS. I can make that joke. Go ahead, Adam.
But that's the thing about you two and AIDS that always fascinates me. It's because, I'm pretty sure that when you were at work and you went to lunch, the last thing you wanted to hear is people talking about work stuff. But then you would pay $190 to go see you two, and Bono sit there going, AIDS.
Well, David Spade has had a great bit years ago that he talked about going to a REM concert, and Michael Stipe's up there, crying about this and crying about that. And David Spade's in the audience going, dude, you're a rock star. If you're sad, I'm fucked. What the hell? Sing Shiny Happy People and sing it like it's on the fucking album. Let's have a good time.
Yeah, instead of whiny, agey people, which was the B-side.
Yeah. Oh, and then that Zooropa. I mean, that was worse than AIDS, in my opinion. That album was just awful.
See, to me, U2 in the 90s was them at their best, but then they went broke in the late 90s, and they thought, right, fuck this, let's Beautiful Day the shit out of these people. And
let's Beautiful Day the shit out of them. I love that.
Yeah, it's just been shit after shit with the occasional cunt fart. That's how I start. But I'm a big fan, of course.
Right on, man. Well, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure being over here to your listeners. I hope they can understand me with my Jewy accent and look.
Wait a minute, you're a Jew?
Don't tell anybody. I'm in Alabama. I'm on the down low.
Yeah, it's just because I'm kind of, blue-eyed and tall, and we kind of talk about, the good old days before, that cunt Schindler ruined all the fun.
Yeah, believe me, I got a couple stones to put on his grave, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, hopefully the Rolling Stones.
Hey-oh!
Hey, it's one of my jokes.
This thing on? Hello?
Yeah. My wife got raped by a guy. Oh! Unlucky for some. He can do better.
I have to, but you, a pedophile? Anyways, go ahead, Adam. What were you saying?
But anyway, so of course, surely you've just recently started up your own show. You left the Stern show. So I've got a groundbreaking question that you've never been asked before. This really is going to revolutionize the podcast and interview format as we know it with this question. It really, really, I put a lot of time and effort into it. So surely, why don't you tell us about your new show and what is it like since leaving the Stern show?
This is a first. I've never been asked this question with this heavy of an accent before. No, it was a great run. I had 15 magical years there. I loved a lot of it. I just got to a point where creatively I just felt like I wanted to try and do my own thing and spread my wings, take the leap of faith and try. It's the reason why I got into stand-up is because I was afraid of being an old man and thinking, what if? And I would rather fail than have that question mark hanging over my head the rest of my life. I couldn't live with that. So I, with the help of my wife, who has got to be all in on this plan, we got 2 kids. This wasn't an easy thing, but she knew I wasn't happy. She knew I wanted to try something new. We had just moved out of New York with the pandemic turning everything to shit around us. The neighborhood changed overnight. I mean, I remember the last straw. I walked out of the apartment and there was a guy shitting behind my car on the street and he wasn't wearing a mask. Can you believe that, Adam? How gross is that, dude? Yeah.
But he didn't misgender you, did he?
No, he didn't. He didn't call me Mr. Potato Head. Yeah. He said Potato Head.
You can't say the P word to an Irish person.
Oh, that's right. It's just like ringing an alarm. I apologize. Everybody stay seated. Relax. So we took the leap of faith, me, my family, and a bunch of people that I had no idea were going to come and support like they have. And the podcast is 6 episodes in. It's the main thing. So to see it live, you go on Patreon, you sign up to my Patreon, you can see it live through Discord. You can call in. But a lot of things are changing. The numbers have been really good with this podcast and people are getting involved with it where it's going to start going to the next level. It's going to look and sound and feel a lot more professional because this is a new world for me. Even though I've done radio for the last 15 years on the biggest show ever, a podcast is different and you're on your own out here on an island, right? And you got to know the tempo and like I'll put it to you this way. I used to do roasts. I would get hired to do corporate roasts and stuff. And then I did a roast battle. And I'd never done a roast battle before. And I don't know if you're familiar with it, but they did the TV shows of it. I'm sure they got a version of it out there. And it's basically 2 comics that know each other somewhat, get up on stage and they roast each other and they battle and the judges judge and there's a winner. But a roast battle is completely different from a roast. The jokes are, you have to write them at a different cadence, a different rhythm, a different style, which I didn't know until I went and did roast battle and got my ass handed to me. Right. And it was humiliating, but I walked away from that going, okay, I can't get away with the same style of roast jokes in this format as I can, in the original format. So that's kind of what I'm learning with the podcast thing is, just be ready to work. It's not as easy as it looks when, I'm working with a full staff the last 15 years. You're backed up. You got people who are smarter in a field that you're working on a bit or something that can help you. You got no help here. You're on your own, but that's what I wanted.
Can I tell you a short story about podcasting that turns into the next question?
Yeah, absolutely. It's your show.
So, don't tell anyone that. So I had an interview with this guy back when I first started the podcast, and I had a really bad back injury. I was on this medication that did nothing. So we had to go to the doctors and say, and at the time I literally could not walk because I got a prolapsed disc. There was muscle inflammation, so I couldn't move. So they give me this really strong pills, which I took. Literally, just as I took the pills, I get the message from the interview guest, and the guy said, "Listen, I'm available between now and the next 4 hours, so if we can do the interview." But after that, I'm going traveling for 3 weeks, and so we did the interview. Mid question 3, the pills kicked in, and I had a really bad reaction to them. So that interview was a complete disaster, but hilarious. And that guest...
Yeah, what was your reaction, if you don't mind me asking?
It was like, fuck! So that guest thought it was a funny disaster, sent it to certain other comedians, and that guest's name was Stuttering John Melendez.
Oh, yes.
Which leads me to the question of I listened to the latest Who Are These podcasts. Hello, Carl.
Love Carl.
A lovely dancer. I heard you kind of trash Stuttering John a bit. I've had a fallout with John recently.
Get out of here. Yeah. Really?
Yeah, after
wow.
He's seen that I interviewed Carl from Who Are These podcasts. Hello, Carl. And he instantly assumed that I was, you're fucking set me up. You're fucking working for them. And it's like, all right. So you prick is what he called me. So
Yeah.
talk to me about your issues/feud with the funniest guy in the world, Stuttering John Melendez.
I never had any issues with John, and then John went down this road where he was just going to talk shit about the show and about Howard. And then he started going down a road where he was claiming shit that was going on there wasn't accurate. Then he made a claim that this video that got leaked, that I was the one who filmed it. And really, for me, it was like, none of that stuff was true. But what you're doing is you're putting somebody in a position who's working in a corporate field where you're kind of fucking with their livelihood. You're kind of fucking with the way I bring in income to my family. And that I didn't appreciate. Now, I didn't do anything about it. I didn't respond. I didn't go after him. And, then it got to a point where he was just kind of trying to troll me and get me to react and come on his show. And then he starts making stuff up about how I leaked information to him. And it's like, when I got to the Stern Show, he was nowhere near the Stern Show. He wasn't a part of it. There was I think we interacted once or twice back in the day, but that was it. John is upset. He's bitter. Things, I guess, haven't gone his way. And what I've always said is, regardless of who you think he is as a person, his work on the show was phenomenal. It was historic. He was a part of history of one of the greatest shows ever. And you can't take that away from him. But, at the end of the day, he's an asshole. And so when we were in LA doing the Stern Show live, he was like running around trying to get on the show. Meanwhile, he goes around bashing everybody on the show, making up stuff about people on the show. And then he's like, I can't believe they won't have me on, or I can't believe they won't talk to me. And it's like, well, why would somebody want to talk to you? What's in it for them? And then we're in this hotel, and he just showed up in this hotel with, his one friend at the time, who I'm sure has had a falling out, much like you. And he comes and bum rushes me with some camera. Now, look, if I had any control of this video, I would have said what I wanted to say. But I knew it's in his hands. It's going to be skewed his way. So my best bet is just don't say anything. So I just walked away, asked security to get rid of him, and that was it. And that was my last interaction with him until I quit my job. And he sends me a direct message and he says, hey, now that you quit your job, would you come on my podcast? And I didn't respond. I didn't trash him. I didn't talk shit. I've never said anything about him on Twitter because I don't need to. That's beneath me, right? And then he writes me back after 2 hours, oh, you're such a fucking pussy. And it's like, wow, I can't believe I wouldn't do your show. So at the end of the day, I really don't talk much about him because, like I said, he needs me more than I need him to talk about him. And, my numbers are great. The listeners are supporting, they're coming out. And it's because I'm not out there talking shit about this one and that one. I mean, if people want to bring the fight, I'll fight if it's worthy. But to me, it's not. I've said that if you can't let go of the past, that's your fucking anchor. That's you sinking down to the bottom of the ocean. That ain't me. I had 15 great years. Were there times where I wasn't happy? Absolutely. Were there times where I had issues with people? Yeah. I'm not going to make a fucking show about it. I'm going to grow as a person, as an artist. And, I wish him nothing but the best, man. I'm sorry that he's so angry. I hope he comes out of that corner one day, but I have nothing to do with him. I'm not looking to do anything with him. And, the Carl thing on Who Are Those Podcasts, I know every episode Carl does a Stuttering John thing. And just to prove to you what a mensch I am, it's an Irish word, I told Carl ahead of time, I said, don't do a Stuttering John thing because I just don't want to go after him. I don't want to sit here and pick him apart. It's not really what I want to do. And there wasn't a John segment. Carl was kind enough to not do it. And just as a bonus for his fans, for all the listeners I saw in the chat were like, what the fuck? I just threw out a fuck Stuttering John at the end. So, of course, his, fake Twitter accounts start tweeting, to you trash John. And then John responds to his own account And, he's sitting here talking to himself. And at the end of the day, man, listen, good luck with everything you're doing. I hope it works out for you. I'm going to be doing my thing. And maybe down the road in the future, we'll meet up. But the approach is all wrong, brother. It's all wrong.
Yeah, and this whole thing for so long was all the anti-Trump shit. And now Trump is gone. He's gone back to modeling and singing. So now Stuttering John has to go back to doing a show, and all he's got are trolls. And it seems sadly like he's, I wouldn't say depressed, but it's like you can tell he's kind of miserable on his own show, which makes for a shit episode.
No, listen, you energy, right? I believe like this universe is a boomerang, right? And whatever you throw out there is coming back your way. And I think when you are super negative and you're spitting out all this venom all the time, that's the people that are going to come back to you. That's the energy that's going to come back to you. So when you're out there trolling people and saying things that aren't true, well, guess what's going to happen? The boomerang is going to fly right back and hit you right between the eyes. So it for me, it doesn't pay to go down that road, because that's what's going to be facing me. That's why I try to do a positive thing, stay upbeat about things. And he's not alone in that politics thing. There's half the country now has no villain, right, to go after. They have nothing to tweet about, nothing to Instagram about. They're going nuts. And, I feel bad for all those people when politics is your everything. Like, fuck, man, I pray that I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy.
You know who I would have voted for?
Who's that?
The president of Partying On Down.
I love the title, so you got my vote.
I'm working on the screenplay as we speak. At the time of recording this, it's March the 3rd, just a few hours ago, really. You were on the lovely Jim and Sam show on Sirius XM, or however it's pronounced. Back in the day, as a fan of the Stern Show and O&A, the idea of a crossover in any way seemed as likely as an Amy Schumer original joke. It's just not fucking happening. So talk to me, because of course you were on the Stern Show. How was it for you at the time during the Stern versus Opie and Anthony feud, as a show host and as a lovely person?
It's a great question, because I grew up listening to Stern via the West Coast. I grew up out in LA and went to school out in LA, so I never heard O&A. I just heard what other fans of Howard had said about O&A, which was all they do is rip off the show. They're rip-offs, blah, blah, blah. So when I'm working at Sirius, and then O&A come from, XM and Sirius merge, and now they're in the same building. And I remember they had a podcast that they would put out, like old content, an hour-long podcast of old bits. And I started listening to it because I met them all when they came up, and they were all very nice, very friendly. I was a big fan of Norton for years, so it was cool meeting him. And I knew of them, but I didn't know anything solid about their show. Well, then I start listening to these old bits, and I'm like, oh, these dudes aren't ripping off Howard. They're doing original shit that I don't think even Howard back in the day would have fucked with. And I loved all the comics hanging in there and busting each other's balls. That was a green room every time I did a comedy show, and I love that. And I thought the three of them complemented each other very well. I thought the show was entertaining. It was fun. It was funny. And the people were all nice. I never had a problem with them. And then Norton asked me to go on the road with him and open for him for a few shows, which I was so over the moon about that. But then I started to worry. I'm like, fuck, this is the Hatfields and McCoys, right? These guys have been fighting with each other for years. They're not even going to let me get a joke out. So I remember telling whoever was introducing, do not mention the Howard Stern show. Mention the Jay Thomas show, but don't mention, I don't want to start in a hole. And I think I did 6 or 7 shows with him, but by like the 4th show, I was just like, introduce me however you want. and their fans never ever once gave me shit. They never heckled. I got one heckle in all the shows I did with them, and it was a guy yelling out "Baba Booey." It was a Stern fan, so it was one of my own, and I learned so much in that short time from Norton. And then I remember both Anthony and Opie came to different shows we did in Atlantic City one night. And then when I saw them both separately, I saw them at Sirius that Monday, and both of them separately came to me and said, dude, anytime you need something to promote, fuck all the bullshit. You're a comic. You can come in our studio. You promote whatever you want. And that I thought was fucking everything, because, it took me a long time to get in, like, to be an on-air guy on the show. And yet these guys saw me do stand-up for 25 minutes one night, and they were like, this dude's funny. He can come on. So I thought that was very cool of them, and it impressed me. And, I never have a bad thing to say about those guys. They've always been great to me.
Were the people on the Stern show, were they aware of the behind-the-scenes chaos at Opie and Anthony? Because it's come out since, that Opie and Anthony fell out way, way early, and that they didn't speak as soon as the mic was off.
I've heard the same thing. Look, it's an office, right? So if something happens in an office, everybody knows about it. That's it. An office at the end of the day is boring. So all we got is the gossip. All we got is the dirt and the juice we got on everybody else. So yeah, I'm sure there were some rumblings, and it's not like there's a line at Sirius and they don't cross this way and we don't cross that way. We all know each other. The people working there knew the people who were working there. They were friendly. They shared the same interests. Nobody hated each other. That was like that was the thing that started way back and just kind of was between them. It wasn't necessarily between the staff. Sam Roberts. I love that dude, man. And I respect his hustle and grind so much. I would watch that kid, and he was doing all the shit I wanted to do. He was jumping in and hosting this show, doing that, pulling clips, boom, boom, boom. And he was killing it. And it was great to see. So yeah, all those dudes have always been great. And, it's amazing that radio is a medium like radio, where you can literally hate somebody, but still put on a good show. Isn't that crazy?
Oh yeah, and no better industry is that better in than the porn industry.
Yes,
because you hear some of these stories about, I don't know if I should name names, but how one female porn star, fuck us, Jenna Jameson,
sure,
apparently is notoriously a right-wing racist.
Oh,
and
somebody just got hotter.
Yeah, no, and I wouldn't give a flying fucks. Like, you could burn a fucking cross right into my dick, and I'd ask you to go out for sushi afterwards. Which brings me to my next question. Of course, like, you're a married man and a family guy. I'm rock and roll scum, and if you don't believe me, I'm wearing an AC/DC shirt, and you don't often see people wearing AC/DC because they're so unsuccessful. But I love a good whore there, because they're whoas.
Sure.
What was it like on the show with the behind the scenes with the porn stars? Was there any of the staff getting with the whoas? Was anybody getting a sneaky beach?
Have you seen the staff? Have you seen pictures of this staff? This is like this looks like a Greyhound bus depot. This is the last stop. No porn. Listen, even a porn star's got a line that she draws in the sand.
Yeah, because it's just like, of course, with the film that starred that Private Parts and Jenna Jameson and that, despite the fact that she probably had AIDS, which of course wouldn't stop me, because I've already got AIDS too. Back to Bono, little shout out to Bono. What's up, Bono? Drink of water for Bono.
Where's my drink, woman? Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
But with the Jenna Jameson in there, she may have been the most gorgeous woman alive if you covered up her face. And I don't know how Stern didn't just silence the lambs her and go, I can smell your cunt, and throw fucking cum at her. But I just think you've got to be tough to not even try to get a honk on those big Bitch.
Listen, it's nice to look at. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, there's a template there for these ladies, and it's not a happy one. And there's a lot of trauma, a lot of shit involved, and also they're like they're showing up to the show and they're like, yeah, I just got done doing a scene, and you're like, oh, you're not lining up to be next in that fucking line. You know what I mean? That's a buffet that just for one. I think I don't like sharing my steak, much less vagina. But I will say that my favorite porn these days is amateur porn. I don't know about you. I don't jerk off to it. I just like hearing what they leave on in the background when they're having sex. That's my favorite part. Is like there was a couple doing anal, and Police Academy 4 Citizens on Patrol was on in the background. And he's like, "You want it in your ass?" And then you just hear, "Hi, I'm Officer Zed. What? Nice to meet you. I'm here to read some poetry." And she's just she's pounding out. It's just phenomenal. Talk amongst yourself 1 second. My dog is chewing on my Jeff the Drunk puppet. Give me a second here.
Oh, okay.
What are you doing? You can't chew on Jeff. How dare you? Oh, poor Jeff.
Jesus Christ. But wasn't there the woman, am I saying the name right, Tabitha Stevens?
That's right.
Yeah, didn't she give Jeff a sweet handy J?
It was hard. I got hard. It wasn't soft, you fucking bitch.
But will we go for that dance break and come back right after?
Sounds good. Let's dance it out, bro.
I enjoyed that dance. I particularly liked the song choice that I had.
Loved it.
Oh, yeah. But I got to ask you as well, because, of course, from going from radio into the podcasting world, the big guy in the podcasting industry is Joe Rogan. Hold
on, let me write that down. How do you spell that?
A lot of people are saying he's like the new Johnny Carson, and that if you can get on his show, it's immediately your social media following goes up. You can play gigs, all kinds of shit. Hard Stern, you used to have that, it seemed, in the 90s, and then of course shit changed, which is inevitable. Stuff always changes. Not my stand-up act, the album never changes. It's the same 12 jokes, all with the same punchline.
I know. I did it last week and it killed. Go ahead.
But I gotta ask you, from behind the scenes, how was Hard Stern's reaction to Joe Rogan's success? Did he ever talk about it? Did he ever call him a big cunt face or anything like that?
He wasn't elegant Elliot often. He didn't use the term cunt face. Right? That's gangster talk, right, Heavy?
She bungled me out of my scratch.
Hello, Kaketsick. He never said anything to me or in any meetings about Rogan. You still liking that one, huh? No, I don't. I mean, look, man, I don't know what be in the dude's head, but you got to respect Rogan. You got to respect that shit. He planted a flag in the ground. He fucking believed in himself. He believed in what he could do. He didn't worry about a format. He didn't worry about, segment blocks and this and that and coming out of breaks. And he just sat down with people he liked and respected, with people he was interested in, and he had a conversation. And is it any surprise that in this day and age, where all we fucking do is sit here and stare at our goddamn phones, that 2-3 people sitting down in a room and talking is suddenly fascinating to people? What is this? This was every fucking day. This was real life before little computers got put in our fucking hands. So, I mean, he's amazing at it. The questions he asks are great. The fact that he's so interested in it, I love. And it makes you interested, they say enthusiasm breeds enthusiasm, right? Pedophiles say that. So, and that is a fact. And also somebody's knowledge, their thirst for knowledge in something makes you want to fucking learn about it. And I think 100% he has that Carson touch right now, which is, I've seen it with my friends, Tim Dillon, fucking brilliant. He's a brilliant comic before Joe Rogan. Don't get me wrong. But I remember him leaving New York and going to LA, and in a matter of a month, he was a regular at the Comedy Store. Like, the guy was great. And of course, talent like that, it doesn't stay hidden. And when he got on Rogan, I was so happy for him. My buddies, New York, Legion of Skanks, Louis J. Gomez, Jay Okerson, Dave Smith. See those three on the show. Love it, man. Love it. And it helped them a ton. It helps everybody. So yeah, Joe, I'm ready whenever you are. Let's go. Come on.
Yeah, and Joe, if you're listening, which I know you are, because I'm a racist, I'll do your show maybe if I can make some time. I might be watching Jumanji. We'll see.
Old one or new one?
Jumanji 4, because there's actually 4 of them. Did you know that?
All right, talk to me. What do we got? We got the old one, Robin Williams. We got the first one with The Rock and Kevin Hart. Then 2.
No, you missed one. Yeah.
Oh.
There was another one called Zathura, which was directed by Iron Man's Jon Favreau.
Okay.
And it's shit, but that's Jumanji 2. Then we got the steroids version. And then we got the one where Jack Black was seriously two lunch breaks away from a heart attack.
Yeah. He was like John Candy in that Wagons East, that last film he did with Matthew Perry.
How ironic is it he's called Candy? That'd be like a 80s sitcom legend being called Bill Rapist.
Right. That's like me named Shuli Yamaka, right? Isn't that dumb?
Or Adam AIDS.
Yeah. Or Kaiki Kaikman. That would be a weird one for me, huh?
See, I'd love to join in on that kind of humor, but I'm the one that has to...
hey, man, I'm offended that you even want to join in on that, Adam. How dare you, dude?
Hey, don't dude me. That's misgendering. See, I turned it on you.
You did. You did, you son of a bitch.
Thank you. Well, there you go with the misgendering again. But you also said, I mean, one of the things about Hard Stern is that we can't get serious over here. So we have to rely on it being bootlegged on YouTube to be able to get to see anything. But Stern, for the longest time, was like at war with YouTube, and there would be these fan channels that would get huge, that he'd shut them down. It would happen again and again and again. And it seems to be happening a lot now, where there's fucking hundreds of Stern shows out there. So why do you think that Stern was so anti-YouTube, and why do you think he never took advantage of it?
It's a great question. I don't know, because, you get your stuff out there, more people see. I mean, look at the comedian Andrew Schultz, right? Here's a guy who, none of the internet companies, the Netflix, the Amazons, none of them wanted his special. And he went and he took his special and he chopped that fucker into small increments, because he knew that, like he says, the thing that keeps people on YouTube longer than Netflix is the fact that they can choose what they want to watch. It's in their control. Whereas in Netflix, he said, how many times people say, oh, did you see that special? You go, I started watching it, but I didn't finish it. Right. Right. So on YouTube, he puts in a 5-minute bit. And now not only are they watching his hour special, but they're watching another hour, so they end up watching 2 hours of this guy, subscribing, supporting. And, fast forward to, 2-3 years later, after he said Netflix is going to be dead, Netflix gave him a special on Netflix, and it's phenomenal. And he did that all on his own with YouTube. YouTube was the key. I mean, look, he was known before that, but I mean, he killed it. He killed it with that. And he proved a point. And I don't know, I'm sure it's like, to him, he's old school. So it's his work being taken and put out there without his permission. But at the same time, you can reach so many more people, over in your planet, for example, and bring them over and let them find a way to get the show. You don't have the internet over there. I mean, you can't get somebody's login shit from the States and just listen to it that way.
But I know a guy who's ordering one of those modem things.
Yeah.
and he says he's going to look at you can see a picture of a woman's tits.
Listen, one day I'm going to bring the sun over there. You're going to lose your fucking mind.
Is it still allowed to be called the sun, or is that gender thingy again?
The it in the sky.
Yeah, I can't call it the yellow because, well.
Thank you. Insert gong sound here. Go ahead.
Oh. But I'm gonna ask one final stern question because I know you probably never get asked about them, so it's probably fascinating for you every time.
You're lucky I like you, because these are the questions that I hate answering, but I like you, so we're doing it.
Well, you're somebody has to. My therapist doesn't like me, keeps calling me a big fag. But does Howard Stern wear a wig? It's just I asked because there was a photograph somebody got of him a few days ago. He was out running, and he was wearing a baseball cap, and it's like either he do-rag that shit, or that he maybe took a wig off to put the cap on. And the fact that he's in his mid-60s and there's nary a grey hair upon that head. So the long-winded question that I've already asked, and I'll ask again because I'm bad at this, does Howard Stern wear a wig?
No, he does not. I've been in meetings where he's messing with his hair and itching his hair, and nothing's ever come off, no tags ever popped out. So that unfortunately is not true. The hair color, I mean, fuck, man, who knows? Maybe he's coloring his shit. I don't know. But, I can tell you my shit's gray as fuck. I tried to grow a mountain man beard out here in the South to blend in, and my Jew genes are so strong that I just looked like a rabbi in the mountains. So I had to trim it back down. But yeah, I know for sure it's not a wig. I don't know about the hair coloring though. But I mean, hard hitting stuff, dude. Good job.
Yeah. Is he aware of all the what the critics all the haters, bro, and what they're all saying about my fucking hair?
He's heard it for years. I mean, it's probably the most positive hate he can get these days.
But isn't that amazing, though, that the world has become what it is, that they're now bashing the guy for having a full head of hair?
Well, that's my thing. It's like, okay, let's say tomorrow, front page of every paper, he wears a wig. Now what? How's life changed for any of us?
But speaking of life changing, one of the guys whose life has changed fucking something shocking since he left the Stern Show, the brilliant Artie Lange. I've done a bunch of interviews with comedians from the East and the West Coast that all know Artie. And you hear, and I've heard a bunch of different answers about what's happened. Some have said that he's back in a rehab clinic. Some have said he's in jail. One of the stories I heard, which I hope the fuck isn't true, is that his mother got COVID pretty early on, and while she recovered, it fucked her up, and that she's needed a lot of around the clock health, medical care, and Artie's there helping her, so he's not out there telling fart jokes like I am. See, it's one of my great punchlines.
Hey, that's mine. All right, go ahead.
So, another long-winded question I've got is, what have you heard about Artie Lange? Have you had any contact with him? How's he doing? And also, who the fuck comes out of rehab, loses their nose, and starts looking handsome? How is that even possible?
That's true. Well, to answer your first question, no, Artie does not wear a wig. Next question. I do not know where Artie is. I hope he's either in rehab, or I hope he's home and, being taken care of by his mom, by his sister. I could tell you there's when I came to New York and started working at Sirius, I was there for Thanksgiving, November of 2006. And he knew I didn't have any family out there. And he invited me to his mom's house for Thanksgiving, which I thought was unreal. And on the way there, he kind of prepped me for working with the show and kind of prepped me for being a comic now that I'm working on the show, and these big group comedy tours we were doing. And what it means, to you're gonna be in a position where you may not make the same amount of money as somebody on the show that has more airtime than you. Even though you're a stronger comedian, you got more material. That's not what you're getting paid here for necessarily. And he kind of prepared me for that. This is the radio world. And he couldn't have been nicer, couldn't have been cooler. On the drive back, we stopped in the city. We went to go see a James Bond movie. We smoked a bowl together. I never did coke, so that's as strong as I go. And he's a guy that, I've always rooted for from day one. He's a super fan of the show growing up like me. So we had that in common. And, I know when Artie was clean for that, short amount of time, I bumped into him in New York at, I think it was at the Cellar or one of the clubs. And he was so happy to see me. And it was such a different Artie. And he was asking about my kids. He wanted to see pictures. We hung out. And I didn't see him after that. And, I always tell people I'm 7 cell phones behind on Artie. I don't know where he's at, but I mean, I wish him nothing but the best. I want him to come back so bad. I hope that thing about his mom isn't true. And if it is, I hope she's doing well. I hope she's getting the help she's getting, that she needs. And yeah, he's a guy that nobody has a bad thing to say about if you've ever met him. Sweetheart.
Yeah, and we need him back for the fact that since this latest round of madness has happened, there's been 2 Springsteen albums and a fucking great AC/DC album. We need him to at least come back and review that, and maybe even let me interview him. And then after that, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, no, you got it. I'm gonna text him right now. This prick Adam wants to talk to you. He looks like he's dying. You should do it. All right, I sent it to him. It's all good.
And you had to misgender me in the text. It's just
sorry.
It's problematic.
This cunt Adam wants to.
That's more like it. Listen, Shuli, I don't want to take up too much of your time today. I fucking thought this was great. You was funny as I hoped you were going to be, and a lovely smile, which I'd never seen before. Is anything out there you'd like to plug for these absolute pieces of shit that listen to this pile of shit show?
Yes, there's more shit out there, and it's called The SHULI Show, and I'd love to have you be a part of it. Now, listen, I know you guys work hard over there plucking things and whatever you do over there, so you don't have to pay for the Patreon if you don't want to. It comes out for free on all platforms every Friday, on everything. But if you want to watch it and you want to be a part of it, and the bonus content on Patreon is... So I have 15 years worth of whack pack stuff on my phone, videos, pictures, stuff that's never been released, never been put on the air. It's all stuff that I've captured either at comedy shows where they show up or different things we've been at together. And that's my bonus content on Patreon, is I release 1 or 2 videos a day, highlighting some of these amazing experiences that I have. Really what I'm doing is cleaning my cloud. It's disgusting. It's filthy. And I got to get these weirdos off of it. But yeah, I mean, you never know what's going to happen on the show. High Pitch called in last night. I interviewed 2 autistic weathermen in the 3rd episode named Frankie and Dylan. And I've talked to Doug Stanhope, Ron Funches. We got Howie Mandel's coming on in a few weeks. So we got a lot of people that are friends that you find out are still your friends in the end. They're going to be on this show. And I appreciate your time, Adam, and your audience's time. And we'll do this again sometime, brother.
I fucking hope so. And I noticed just online that you were a wrestling fan. If you ever get pro wrestler Raven on, who's an old friend of mine, you'll hear him in the cold open for this episode.
ECW Raven?
Well, I like to think of him as WCW Raven.
What is it, Scott, right? Is his first name?
Yeah, Scotty Flamingo.
Yeah.
I know that piece of shit, so I'm going to have him in the cold open to this show. What I do is I troll his show. I get him to say the word cunt. It always makes me laugh.
Yeah.
And if you ever interview him, if you can get him to answer 2 wrestling questions,
sure,
you're on a level of podcasting that nobody fucking has before because he won't talk about it?
Well, you know, we used to tour with the Iron Sheik. He would come on our comedy shows with us. And, you know, we do a show Friday night, and then that Saturday morning / afternoon, we'd all be at a diner, and all of us comics would turn into like 12-year-old kids again. And we would just start pestering him with wrestling questions. And I'll never forget. Meanwhile, that dude and I smoke crazy weed, man. They should get me over to the Middle East. I'll bring those motherfucking sides together, dude. So we were hanging out, and I'm in this diner, and I go, Sheik. I go, who was the biggest pecker checker in the locker room back in the day? And without even missing a beat, he goes, Pat Patterson. And I go, and this was before Pat Patterson came out as gay to the world. And I go, really? Pat Patterson? He goes, number one. He used to, every time I'd walk into the lobby of the hotel, he'd be sitting there with the championship belt, his cane, and he'd look at me and go, Shuli, baby, you bring medicine? And I go, yeah, Sheiky. He'd go, excellent. He'd twist his mustache. It's fucking the best, dude. But you'd have told me at 10 that I'd be smoking weed with the Iron Sheik, watching him yell at his manager. You are faggot. Get out of my room before I fuck your ass and make you humble.
But that's the great thing about these wrestlers is you forget that they're real people.
Yes.
So that like on this episode, I'll have Raven talking about about the Suicide Squad, and
yeah,
you'll hear it in the cold open where I write in and I ask him a question, which then quickly switches into me slipping the word cunt in, and I've done it nearly every week for months, and it's funny, and I think it's funny because I think I'm funny because somebody has to, because Hitler was right, and we will rise again.
Sorry, wrong meeting. Wrong meeting. So you should try this game we used to play back in the day called Piss Them Off. It was a variation of Name That Tune. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Name That Tune, but people would sit there and they'd go, they'd say it's a 60s classic. And then they go, I can name that tune in 4 notes. And they go, I can name that tune in 2. So we would do Piss Them Off, which was basically you would cold call a number and we would say, how many words can you piss this person off in? And the ultimate was 1, right? Everyone always said 1. You go, piss them off. And your word is the one I chose, right? And I remember we called I think it was a Chili's restaurant out in like Denver or somewhere. And the woman picks up, she's like, hi, this is Chili's. And I just go, cunt. And she goes, I'm sorry? So I'm like, cunt. And she goes, you're breaking up a little bit. The place we were doing it, they had such shitty technical, the tech stuff, the phone line stuff. So I'm screaming I go, God! And she just goes, bunt? Bunt? Like, who the fuck calls a restaurant and yells bunt? Nobody's yelling bunt, you idiot. It was so fun. It ended up pissing me off in 1 word. But you should try that. I think you'd be good at that.
Oh, well, over here, the word cunt, it's kind of also means hello.
Yeah, no, you'd have to change it to something else. But yeah, you definitely, cunt's not going to work. They're just going to say, hey, Mom, how are you? It's good to hear from you.
Didn't know you were out of jail. But let's just get that Patreon address in one more time.
Patreon.com/The Shuli Show on all social media. I'm Shalom Shuli, Instagram and Twitter. And the podcast is The Shuli Show on all platforms. And if there's any gamers out there that like watching dudes in their 40s play video games at a mediocre level, I'm on Twitch at Shalom Shuli TV. So tune in for any of those.
There you go. And fuck you, Stuttering John.
I don't condone that, but I do agree with it.